Hey guys, welcome to this autumn fall inspired makeup tutorial. So yeah, for this look I've gone for a kind of gold smoky eye and then just a really dark purple lip colour. I love that you can get away with the really dark bold lip colours at this time of year. I really enjoy the kind of vampy look but in a slightly more toned down way. Yeah, I love this time of year and I love the makeup looks that go with it. So yeah, if you want to see how I got this look then just keep on watching. So starting off with moisturiser, I'm using the MAC Prep and Prime Moisture Infusion Serum. This moisturiser is really good under primer, just makes the makeup sit really nicely on top. So for primer today I'm using the Catrice, what's it called? Prime and Fine Smoothing Refiner. It's basically just comes in a jar like this and it's very kind of silicone feeling, which means it's good for filling in any pores or just basically smoothing out the skin so that your foundation will apply nicer. So I like to almost just kind of pat this into areas where I tend to have more pores or where makeup tends to crease on me. I find that silicone based primers are good for preventing your foundation from creasing just because they fill in all the fine lines basically. My skin is not doing well at the moment at all. I don't know why. No idea. I haven't changed my diet. I haven't really changed my skincare that drastically. My skin isn't typically very sensitive to new products, so I honestly have no idea what's causing it. Next I'm going to be taking the Rimmel Wake Me Up foundation, and this has vitamin C and it's just a really good kind of illuminating foundation. I'm just going to spray a bit of makeup setting spray on my Real Techniques sponge. It's just quite a nice trick to kind of lock the foundation in, but it also adds moisture to the skin as well, so it makes it look really healthy. And then just bouncing that into the skin with the damp sponge. So I don't know if you can tell on the camera, but the foundation just gives a nice luminosity, but it's not too over the top where it looks wet. And actually, I mean, I always set my foundation just because my skin does get quite oily throughout the day, but it's not tacky feeling, which I think is a problem you can have with quite a lot of illuminating foundations, but I really actually like this one. So now going in with the matching concealer, I'm just going to apply this under the eyes and then I'll take a bit down the centre of the nose and a bit here, and then just blending that in again with the Real Techniques sponge. I'm going to take a bit of that up onto the eyelids as well, just to prep them for eyeshadow later on. And then still on concealer, I'm then going to go in with my Collection Lasting Perfection concealer, just to cover up anything on my skin that I don't want to show through. I just find that this concealer is more full coverage than the Rimmel one. The Rimmel concealer I think is better for highlighting, whereas this one is better for actually kind of concealing things. And since my skin isn't doing so well at the moment, this has been my best friend. Now, as I said, I like to set my foundation and concealer, so I'm just going to be using the Makeup Revolution press powder in translucent. Again, kind of similarly to the way I use the Real Techniques sponge, I like to almost bounce the powder onto the skin rather than swiping it on. I just think it gives a better effect. I think if you swipe too much, you're upsetting the foundation that you've put down. Also, my skin can be quite dry, and I find that if you sweep powder across dry skin, it kind of highlights the dry patches, whereas if you just lightly bounce the powder on, it doesn't tend to look as bad for some reason. For contour, I'm going to be using the Catrice Prime and Fine Contour and Highlight. For blush, I'm going to be using, I don't know what it's called, it's a blush from Primark and it's part of the PS Love range, I think. It's a really deep, almost like a maroon shade. You need to have a really light hand with this because it is very pigmented and it really shows up on the cheeks, so very, very gently just applying that to the centre of the cheeks. I think this kind of shade of blush is so nice for this time of year, coming into the colder months. In winter, I really like the kind of berry tone shades and I think this is just stunning. For highlight today, I'm going to be going in with the Sleek Makeup highlight palette in Precious Metals. This is what it looks like here. It's 3 cream highlights and then 1 powder highlight. I actually just got this recently and I've written a post about it on my new blog, so I will link that down below if you're interested. It's just basically my first thoughts and reviews and swatches on this palette. So I'm going to go for this shade here. It's a kind of champagne gold. It's annoying, it's actually not showing up too well on the camera, but in my mirror here it looks really good. Okay, next up, going in with eyebrows, I have the old packaging of the Benefit Eyebrow Duo. It's the one with the powder and the wax in it, and I really just use the powder, to be honest. So just taking the powder on a small angled brush. I'd say this time of year especially, I like thick, bushy, kind of slightly unruly eyebrows, but then to be honest I like that all year round. Then I just like to go in with one of these little eyebrow brushes and basically just comb through the brows to make sure that it's all kind of blended. And then lastly for the brows, I like to go in with this is from Primark, any tinted brow gel will do. I actually really like this one for the size of the brush, it's tiny and I'm pretty sure it was only £1, so I would definitely recommend this stuff. Okay, so now that I'm pretty much done with the kind of base things, I like to go in with a makeup setting spray just to basically make sure that all the powders sit nicely. I prefer to do this before I've done my eyes just because sometimes it can be a bit too watery and I feel like it can ruin mascara or eyeliner. So for eyeshadow, I'm mainly going to be using the original Urban Decay Naked palette. I don't really use this too much in the summer, but then as soon as it gets to this time of year, I just think it's very kind of winter, autumn appropriate. I have my eye on this one here. I think I want to put that as the kind of pop of colour on the eyelids. So I'd already put the concealer on the eyelids earlier on, but I'm just going to take that same setting powder and a big fluffy eyeshadow brush and just make sure that our concealer is all set down nicely so the eyeshadows will blend better. This is something you want to do particularly if you have oily eyelids. Okay, so I'm going to start off by taking the shade Naked here and just placing that in the crease as my transition shade. Okay, so I'm going to follow that on with the colour Buck in this palette again. It's just a deeper matte brown, and again that's just going to continue to add dimension. I normally like to start off quite, not messy, but liberal with the first transition shade and then just kind of get more and more precise as the colours get darker. Good trick is if you find you have any harsh lines like I kind of have around here, this is the fluffy brush that I used for the translucent powder, and I'm just going to use that to soften up the edges. So taking a quick break from the Naked palette, I'm going in with this, which is the I Heart Makeup Revolution London Chocolate Vice palette. It looks like this, and I'm going to be taking this really kind of warm reddy brown kind of brick shade, and I'm taking a really small brush here and I'm just going to pop this again into the crease. I'm only adding this to the outer part of my crease. I just want there to be a slight warm shade peeking through in the crease after we've finished applying the other eyeshadows. Going back to this palette now, I'm going into the shade Hustle, which is this one here. It's a kind of browny purple shade almost. Then with a flat shader brush, I'm going to go into the shade Half Baked, which is this really nice gold, and I'm just going to apply that to the inner part of the eyelid. And you basically just want to keep blending this until you get a nice gradient between the gold and the darker colours. Then just to pull all of the lid shades together, I'm going to go back into the first shade that we used and just blend everything together. I'm then going to take a bit of the shade Virgin and pop that right on the inner corner, and also just a tiny bit below the eyebrows on the brow bone just to highlight that area. Now taking a flat liner brush, I'm going to mix Naked and Buck together and then just pop that along the lower lash line. Then for liner, I'm going to be going in with the Illamasqua Precision ink in black, obviously. For mascara, I'm using the Bourjois Liner Effect mascara, which I really like. The bristles are long on one side and then really short on the other. So that is me done with the eyes. Obviously, if you're doing this yourself, feel free to add false lashes. To be honest, I do quite like it without the false lashes. Obviously it's more daytime appropriate without, but if I was going out at night, I'd probably add them. Okay, so I'm gonna go in with a pretty dark lip. This is one of the Salvation Velvet lacquers from Makeup Revolution. It is in the shade Velvet Vamp, and it's just like a really dark, deep purple. Okay, so that is the finished look. I'm really pleased with how it turned out actually. I think the gold eyeshadow that I used on the lid could have been a bit more pigmented, but apart from that, I absolutely love the dark lips at this time of year. I just think it looks so good. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. Please give the video a like and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!